بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
And every bite that we eat was written for us by God. Sometimes you find yourself eating something that the cook never imagined it would be you who would eat it in the end. And you think, subhanAllah, this was written for me. That person was brought to start to cook because that was going to be for me. Allah had written my rizq in that meal, and it had to come to me. So maybe these things might help in terms of understanding our relationship with things and how to honor them. Muna, you wanted to say something?
No. I was just thinking, I guess just to extend from that, she was talking about honoring something without necessarily being attached to its very being. So
Right,
it's just like kind of balancing that, as opposed to, it's not an indifference to the fact that you've spent that much on something or that you're comfortable replacing it. Like you might not have those feelings towards it. It's just you want to take care of it. And part of that take caring of the thing is an attachment that you develop over time.
Yeah.
So nobody, sits there cleaning a jacket, making sure, any item, a notebook, let's say, or a pen, you want to always keep it with you. This is for my class. I'm going to keep track of it, make sure it doesn't get dirty. And naturally, we're inclined toward those things.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like part of the honoring and taking care of naturally involves this attachment.
Yeah.
But I guess building on what you were saying, it seems that you're not honoring it for the value that it has to you, maybe, or I don't know, but more so that you're honoring the blessing that it has entered your life.
Yeah, but even what you're saying is true. To be to some degree attached to certain things, or even to have the ability to attach to something and to love it, is a good sign. Is a good sign in a person. So, for example, if we see like a child who really treasures an object that they were given, this is a good sign. And you can see that if this child can treat an object with such love and care, then inshallah they'll be able to do that in their relationships as they get older. When they're given a wird to say, when they're taught that, oh my son, say Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad, 5 times a day. When their teacher says it to them, that they'll treasure it the way they treasured that object, that soccer ball or whatever it was, because it's a way of being. It's an art to be able to treasure and value something. So even if it's at the beginning, even if it's a kind of attachment, especially in our day and age, that's a good thing, because we don't have really that kind of feeling anymore, a lot of people. Because we have such a kind of, everything is replaceable, and most things are bought for us from, dollar store or something like that. So
There's the devastation.
devastation
Because of the attachment.
if you lose it.
If you lose it, if something happens to it, if it's dented, if it's scratched, if the cat's paw, I guess the only concern about the attachment is you have that attachment, and as it develops over time, that attachment, I don't know, it kind of seems like it needs to be not to the physical thing, but the blessing in itself. So the gratitude for that thing in your life is just, as you get attached to the physical things, then there's the devastation or the frustration when something happens to them, right?
Okay, yeah.
But I think that from what I'm understanding, and this is really interesting, it sounds like you have to work on recognizing the blessing, acknowledging, because this goes back to your relationship with Allah, which you said needs to come first, right? So if you have your relationship with Allah on point, you're recognizing your blessings, and you see that in a spiritual way, and then the attachment does not come from, I look so good in this jacket, right? Or this is on trend this season, So then the attachment is because Allah gave you this and you want to honor it. Whereas what's happening with me is I like my jacket because I like my jacket, right? And so I have an attachment to it, but what I'm fighting against is that attachment, but I'm doing it kind of the wrong way, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm careless with it because I'm so Sufi. Like, I don't need this jacket, right? It could, like, you know, the cat could bite it and tear it, and alhamdulillah, I'm okay with that. But really, I'd be so upset, right? Whereas if my relationship with Allah was on point and I saw it as a strict, this is a blessing, this is my rizq, this is qadr Allah, then that's real unattachment. I'm getting this.
Don't say I'm a Sufi.
Yeah, no, I wasn't there, I was in the kitchen.
Dalal would like to share something. Dalal, Fatiha. It's because we're just recording, so people will be like, they can't hear you if you're not, yeah.
It's okay with me, but okay. So I didn't hear your previous talk on the subject, but just from the story that you shared about the Prophet ﷺ asking Aisha to wash the thawb so that I can return to a state of tasbih. And I feel like there's a further lesson we can pull from that, and that's kind of like if he ﷺ put so much emphasis on cleaning this garment to be in a state of tasbih, then what should that tell us about like the ultimate kind of gift that we have that we should take care of and keep clean so that it can be in the constant state, like being our heart. You know, what are we doing to our qalb that it's not able to be in a state of dhikr? What are we doing to our ears that we don't find the sweetness in listening to Quran anymore? Like, what have we subjected it to? So taking care of those elements that should be in a state of dhikr, that's like our ultimate goal.
MashaAllah. Thank you. That's beautiful, yes, as Noor said. Muna, you wanted to say something? No? Anissa, okay, sure.
No, I was just talking to about the point, like attachment itself, like it could be a healthy attachment and, you know, a negative attachment. So if you're attached to a nice jacket that you bought with your earned money, and Allah is beautiful and He loves beautiful things, and you can appreciate it and look it through that, and, you know, because even if you look into nature, like it's magnificent, it's so beautiful, and we can beautify ourselves and within the limit of Islam and of our deen. So even being attached to an object, it's as long as it's healthy attachment and it's not a negative attachment. And even if somebody else like comments on your jacket and says, "Oh, mashallah, Anissa, you're wearing a beautiful jacket," have the decency of like, "Oh yeah, give it away," because Nabi Muhammad
The bar just got raised. It's just decency now. It's not even like ahsan. Have the decency to give it to them.
That was like 0 to 100. It just went a little too. That was a bit much.
You take it away from her.
They took the mic away from this poor sister, Anissa. I've never seen that happen in this class. It's a first.
Obviously, when you're sitting beside Muna. I love that.
No, mashallah. No, mashallah. Actually, you said what I wanted to say, which is that it's very important to have a sense of appreciation for beauty and appreciation for blessings, even when they're in the external world around us. So the Prophet ﷺ, honored and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself honored certain qualities in the people of Mecca, which is why He, it's something that, of course, we don't know all the reasons for why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed Sayyidina Muhammad amongst the people that he grew up with. But one of the things that's been talked about in terms of what made these people able to receive the message in the way that they did. What made it a perfect sort of cradle for this message, for this revelation. And one of the things that I remember learning about with respect to that is the fact that they had an appreciation for beauty. They really appreciated beauty. Living in the desert, the smallest flower was inspiring and was appreciated by the people of Mecca, and other qualities that they had as well enabled them. Of course, their appreciation of language and their ability then to really embrace Quran, even on that level. So why am I talking about this? Because we sometimes need to think about these things in terms of preparing ourselves to be recipients of the message. Going back and seeing, am I someone who appreciates beauty? Am I someone who has a connection to language even? How does it help me to connect to the Word of God when I appreciate poetry? How can I cultivate those things? It may seem like an indirect route, but it's how the people of Makkah were prepared to receive the message. That's how Allah prepared them. So having an appreciation of beauty is very important. And then also what you said about appreciating something that has a meaning for you, and being able to attribute meaning to objects. And that's something that you can really think about. So part of the meaning is, of course, what we talked about, that every object that's coming to you is a blessing from Allah. But certain objects have even more meaning than that, right? Depending on who gave that to you, where you first wore that, how you save that to wear it for Laylatul Qadr or something like that. Now this is very important to do. And I remember I got really sad one time after a sister's retreat that we had, because I found the schedules that we had made, and something that I poured my heart into, and I found them all sitting just on top of the garbage. It was in the old place where we used to have the roda, which was part of our home at that time. I came out one day to go to work, and I found all these papers just sitting on top of the garbage can, sort of waiting to be taken away. And it made me so sad, because it had been such a profound experience, that retreat. And I thought that it had been that for the people who were with me, but that they were able to just put those sacred papers, which didn't have the name of God or anything on them, but they talked about a time that was sacred. And to just see them dumped in that way was very sad for me. So again, this kind of thing, we know people, and I've heard stories about people who, kept the shoes that they wore the very first time that they met their sheikh. And they talk about those shoes. These are the shoes that took me to my guidance. It's this kind of ability to see meaning in things that will enable you to have a healthy attachment to those things and to treasure them for what they represent. And this is a quote, for example, that reminds me of my teachers. That's why I love it. It's not because of color, it's not because of anything else. For me, it reminds me of the most important experience of my life, which is to receive guidance at the hands of people who care about me. So when you start to have that kind of relationship, then it becomes a relationship fillah, because it's not about the expense of the coat even. It's not about the value that it has in other people's eyes even. It's something that's very personal to you. And then you can use that to propel you and to remind you of who you are. And this is why it's so important when we talk even about hijab, what is the meaning of it? Is it just a cloth on your head? And we hear so many different things said about hijab today to sort of allow people to accept it or understand it. And we find that one of the things that is said is that it's just a cloth on my head. Why should it be a barrier? It's just a cloth on my head. It's not just a cloth on your head though. We shouldn't demean it and diminish it in order to build a bridge with someone. You can build a bridge in another way. It's not just a cloth on your head. Try just putting it as a cloth on your head, like a tablecloth, and see if it affects anyone or anyone minds that. They'll just be like, there's an idiot walking by with a cloth on her head. Okay, it's because it's not. It's wrapped in a particular way. It's speaking in a particular way. It's saying something. Don't tear away its message in order to allow yourself to be accepted. Just express its message properly, and understand that it's something it's a bond connecting you to Sayyidah Fatima alayha salam, to Sayyidah Khadija alayha salam. It's connecting you to these mothers of ours, mothers of the believers. And understand that when you put it on, and honor that. And when you take it off, don't throw it on the floor, for example. It's like a turban. Shuyukh, they don't throw their turbans on the floor, I can tell you that, I know that. I have someone who wears a turban at home, and you have to be very careful how you treat something like that. It doesn't even stay in the wash with the other clothes when it needs to be washed. It's kept separately until the time it's ready to be, or I have time to wash it, let me put it that way. If I just put it in the wash basket, it might stay there for a month. We don't want that to happen. Well, your hijab is no different than that. It's a crown upon your head. It has a great meaning, just like a turban has a great meaning. It means that person is a teacher, that person has been given given authority to guide other people by their teacher. It has a lot of meaning. It's not just anyone can put on a turban. And likewise, not just anyone can put on the true meaning of the legacy of Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam. So give it that honor. So these are some ways to connect to these things which are physical objects and physical rituals, but they should bring you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to a healthy attachment. So anything else that you want to share as a reflection from last week? What I'm trying to say is, if I were to see that in someone, if I were to see someone really honoring a notebook that they use for this class, or even something else, even nothing to do with this class, really holding something sacred, maybe even their favorite book, and just always making sure that it's put away nicely and so on, I would take that as a very good sign, as a sign of someone who has the right qualities to receive guidance. Because when they get it, they'll know how to treat it. So it's something to cultivate in yourself. If you can do that even if you want to practice with a $500 jacket, that's fine. It's to build a quality in you of being able to value something. And it's very important that we allow our children to do that as well. And don't be careful when we sometimes are saying what Aissa said, that have the decency to give it away if someone likes it. We have to keep that in balance, because if we do want to develop in our children a desire to hold on to what's valuable to them and what's sacred. Not because, for children holding on to some things like that, it's not even dunya, it's not hubb dunya, they're children. This is part of their landscape as a child. This is their favorite book, this is their favorite teddy bear. The teddy bear has no monetary value. It's probably raggedy and awful, but the fact that they love that one and they don't even want a new one, nurture that in them. Allow that to develop. It's a kind of loyalty, it's a kind of appreciation, it's a kind of commitment, and then you'll hopefully see that as they get older, that they'll carry on with those virtues, with that virtue having been solidly developed inside them. Right? Loving a teacher, having a favorite teacher, and things like that. These are normal things that a child should be able to experience, and we shouldn't discourage them from doing that, from having favorites, even a favorite color that they're loyal to, only want that color. These are healthy things. They will graduate to having, a favorite verse from Quran or surah from Quran that colors their life, right? So, we have to be conscious of that. And the sharing comes later. Once you're in the healthy attachment, then you're able to share. If you take that attachment away too early, then you're insecure, and then even your sharing is not really authentic. So, the one who's able to share something really is the one who has the most secure relationship with that thing. Right? I remember reading a story like that. It's about a man who was walking in the wilderness, and he met an old woman who had a beautiful stone in her possession, and he said he just fell in love with that stone, and it seemed to him to be like a magical stone, or had some magical sort of properties. This is just a fictional story, so don't. It's just symbolic for you. And the man said to the woman, "I really, really want that stone. Would you give it to me?" And he was prepared to sort of negotiate with her and convince her. And very easily she said, of course, I'll give it to you. Aissa feels vindicated now. Yes, she had the decency to give it to him, as you said. She gave him the stone very, very readily. And the man took the stone, and he expected to feel so happy to have it. And a few moments later he said, "Oh, you know what, I want to ask you, can you give me the thing in you that allowed you to give me the stone? That's what I want." That's what it really is. So that's what it really is. That's what it comes down to. It's your own, what that's doing for you, first of all, to have a healthy relationship, and then eventually to be able to share what it is that you have. And that's what you keep. What you keep is the quality in you. Right? So, and that's always been something that's been part of our heritage as Muslims. And we talked about that before, that this is my next door neighbor, he was half Jewish and never really interested in us at all, as his neighbors or anything. And when he traveled, he went to Iran, and came back and was just drunk on the idea of Islam and Muslims, and it was all from these kinds of incidents that took place that are like what Aissa said. He would say, "I like your watch," the person would take off their watch, and this was extremely impressive for this person, again, because it's saying, what is it that you have in you that enables you to let go? That's what I love. I don't love the watch itself, but I love to interact with someone who has something that I don't have, which is the ability to give and to not fear loss. It's very wonderful to interact with someone like that. It takes you to a whole other place, and it does make you drunk in that way. So, anyway, alhamdulillah. So, is there anything else that you want to share from the relationships that we talked about last time?
So, one of the ones that I kind of got hung up with and still struggle with a lot is the relationship with ourselves. And I always find that, subhanAllah, it's so weird that, at least for me, I know that I have a lot of negative self-talk. And I'll be the first to admit it. I know that about myself. But it's like a complete separation in terms of how I speak to myself in a situation versus how I speak to a friend in that exact same situation. And my friends have called me out on it. They'd be like, "What would you say if this was me?" And I'd be like, "I'd tell you that you're crazy," and all the stuff that they're telling me. And they're like, "Exactly. So why are you struggling so hard?" And I have no answer, but it's just something that I've found is just the reality, is that I'm much harder on myself. And maybe there's a degree of it that's similar to what Khairiya said about being that super me that's super critical. But it's something that I've tried to be okay, this is from a lack of iman and a lack of this and a lack of that, strengthen that and this will be fixed. But I found that it's not. Even though I definitely see improvement and all my spirituality and my iman and things like that, but sometimes just even it almost feels fake when I tell myself be nice to yourself. This is how God created you, because it feels like it's just an out, and be well, yeah, sure, God created me this way, but He'd love me more if I was like this or like that, if I did this or did that, and so it's almost like the religiosity makes it worse. SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
It's weird. Because then it's it's not even just my own standards. It's I feel like I'm failing God's standards too.
Of course. And that's why we keep talking about rahmah, which is just always there. And it means that you're loved as you are, and it never changes. It's not dependent on how good you are or bad you are, or whether you're a complete lazy person. There's no difference in the rahmah and the love that you receive from God. This is something we know. I'm not making it up. You can go back to our earlier classes and get the whole explanation with the tafsir, because it's real. And it's very important that we stop saying things like, "Oh, it's just an easy out." It's just, what are you afraid of? If you just allow yourself to try it once, you'll realize it doesn't make you actually become lazier in your pursuit of being a good person. It actually is the thing that will motivate you to actually want to do good and to strive for an even greater experience of love with God. So this is very key, and it's not a surprise in that case that that's exactly what Shaitan works on. And he's doing a great job. We're just letting him. This whole discourse of, if I were like this, God would love me more. You just have to throw that out completely. It just has to go. It just has no place. It's about you and your experience of life, and about your experience of intimacy with God, uns fillah. That's what you can be striving for. That's where you can say, yes, if I woke up in the night, I might taste more of the uns fillah. Yes, if I read God's word more, I would get to taste more of the sweetness of the intimacy of talking with God. But love or not love, this should be a closed case. It's just, He loves you. He loves you more than your mom loves you. Do you still doubt that? Are you still thinking about that every time you talk to her? Oh, if I were married by now and had grandkids for her, she would love me more? Abadan. That should never come into anyone's mind. It's just, you would laugh if someone said that. You'd be like, no, your mom loves you. It's a done deal. The moment she saw you, she loved you. Khalas, it's finished. She was part, and there's a profound relationship between those two things. I mean, your mother has any mother has in her a quality that comes from al-Khaliq. Creation took place inside her. And in the same way, Allah loves you because He created you. That alone is enough. You know, and we talked about it before. I told you about the table I made with the very long legs. I don't know if you remember that story. I made a table in woodworking class, and it had very long legs because I wanted it to be the height of my grandfather's bed, because he was sick at the time and he had a hospital bed in his room. I wanted it to have, you know, his stuff on it so he could reach it and stuff like that. And so I made it with extra long legs, so it looks very awkward. And now it's in my mom's home, my parents' home, and it looks very awkward now because you can't tell why it had such long legs. It's not next to a bed anymore. And I love every inch of it. I love every centimeter of it. And when I go there, I want to touch it. Because I'm the one who chose each leg. I chose a piece of wood and I chose it with a knot in it, and I wanted it to look this way. I made it with love. To serve a purpose in the world. Just like Allah made you to serve a purpose in the world. You were a gift to the world, and you are beautiful in and of yourself, as you are. And now that table is not serving that purpose anymore. It's just sitting there in the corner. But it will never ever be something that I could ever accept anyone giving away, selling, or throwing away. I couldn't accept it. I would say I'm coming there myself to pick it up. Wallah. And I don't feel like that about other objects. But I made this with my own hands. So think then about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, Allah is much greater than that, and it's much more, His love is far more textured and contoured and complex than the love of a human being for an object like a table. But, you know, again, it's just to get a sense of how Allah loves us. But it shouldn't be something that you're still discussing. Sometimes you have to just accept something and run with it.
No, SubhanAllah, as you were talking, like I'm just nodding along with you, and I realized something as you were speaking, that I think that I don't even think that's what it was anymore, even though that's what I said ago. Like I believe that, like every word you said, and I, like in my heart, I know that, and I am like, yeah, absolutely. So I think actually what it is that it's my own standards, not God's, and I think that that's a nafs thing, that it's like, yeah, I recognize that I meet God's standards and God loves me, but I think I should be better because of A and C, for my own approval, for other people's approval. But it's not actually about God, because I think God's the only one who's just like, yeah, calm down. Yeah. I made you this way. Just say alhamdulillah.
That's right. So sometimes if you do a dhikr, it can help you, a particular dhikr. And I mean, sometimes, as we said before, we don't connect to dhikr that's in Arabic because we just don't have the facility with the language. So you can even, just to aid yourself to become firm in this state of iman, because you mentioned iman, if my iman were better. Iman means a sense of security in this realization that your Creator is loving you and is looking after you and is watching out for you and has got things covered and has a plan for you that's being followed. So whether you even want it or not, there is a plan that's unfolding in your life, including improvement that will take place, and you'll almost not even notice it until it's done, and then you'll be like, wow, how did I get from here to here? How beautiful. So iman is a state of being mutama'in, secure, being in a state of complete ease and security, being carried by God. So if you realize that that's an important place to reach in your spiritual journey, and every soul should try to be mutama'inna, then you can even just do some kind of remembrance, even in English, to say, I am loved, I am cared for by God, because that's the meaning of Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. I'm loved and I'm cared for. Right? And so you can do it in English, it doesn't really matter. It's not a problem to say if you want to have an affirmation like that every day, I'm loved by God, or God loves me and I'm cared for, you should do that. You should absolutely do that. We shouldn't get hung up on something like, oh, it's not from the Quran, so I'm not going to say it. You say a lot of things that are not from Quran anyway, so don't get, don't stop on this one that could actually benefit you in your life with God, because it's not in the right language. So, alhamdulillah. Does anyone want to say anything? Yes.
It's something that I heard last week. It's about, and it's somehow related to the class this time and last time. It's talking about the ruh and how Allah have like nafakhtu fihi min ruhi, like how we all have the ruh. So my question is it diluted like from Sayyidina Adam to our time now, kind of ruh, or like it's decreasing, or is it the same, or?
The ruh is the same. It's not, we were all created at the same time. When Sayyidina Muhammad was created before everyone, okay. But after that, humanity was all gathered in one place, and their souls were all there. So it's not like we're like a later version of a soul, so we're like a poorer quality version now. Like the photocopy got really, photocopied too many times, and it's all blurry now. You guys don't even know this reference I'm making, because you don't know those old photocopiers where if you kept photocopying, eventually the image got really poor. This is from back in the day, before these laser copiers. But anyway, no, it's not like that. It's not diluted. It's the same. It's the same ruh. And that's a very important principle, because we have to always remember that it's the same Lord and it's the same ruh in everyone. That means that the people who are able to reach a true state of purity and love and bliss in their relationship with Allah, it was the same God who gave that to them as we have now, and they were working with the same materials that you and I have. Ruh, nafs, it was the same. And in fact, I've heard it said by teachers that in fact the nafs of everyone is exactly the same. So you should never look down on someone else, because you have the same stuff in you. It's just conditions around you that serve to promote one aspect over another. But anything that's, anything you say, oh, that person has such a love for wealth or whatever, it's in you. And if you were given those particular conditions, it would be, awoken. So, alhamdulillah, we're all equal. Let's put it that way. That's the important thing. We're all equal spiritually. But now it's a matter of who will put their hand into that, to that work and do the work that needs to be done, and not wait for a tragedy to strike before you discover what needs to be done. So many people, that's what ends up making them understand that Allah loves them. That's what ends up making them say things like, oh, I'm happy in the end that my whole family was broken apart because I discovered Allah's love. My teachers always said, don't wait for that. Don't wait for that. You have it now. You have the ability, you have the same nights that those people who are desperate have, in which they are waking up because they're brokenhearted from the world. You don't have to be brokenhearted to wake up in that same night and to seek Allah and to seek guidance. So that's the real key, is to have to cultivate in yourself a real desperation and hunger for Allah, and a hunger for His Prophet ﷺ, to not just be lukewarm, day after day, lukewarm, until you realize that years and years have passed and you had every ability to wake up in the night and pursue this. And if you don't have that desire, find a way to cultivate it in yourself. Go and read Rumi and feel jealous. Go and read Rumi and say, how did I miss this boat? How come he's talking about all this stuff like love and ecstasy and all that, and I'm just so far from that? I'm so cool, and my temperature is just so far. And when I say far, I don't mean far like, oh, he's 5 miles ahead and I'm over here. No. That's always how we tend to think about, oh, that guy is 100 kilometers ahead, I'm back here, I can never catch up. No, it's just this kind of a far. Just raise your temperature and you'll be up there. If you want to stay, barid all the time, which is a big insult in Syrian dialect, oh, you're so barida, you're so slow moving, you're so cold. And it doesn't mean, like in English when we say cold, it means cold like in your personality towards each other. But in that dialect I discovered, because I was told that many times, is you don't capture the opportunity when it comes. You're just kind of going through everything like you're half frozen. So no, you have it in you, and there are thousands of ways to just raise the temperature. And subhanAllah, you're willing to do that for other things. It's called, you find ways to motivate yourself. All these TED Talks are all about raising the temperature in different dials, which are not usually about God. It's just about, okay, yeah, you can do it. You can reach, a higher level of, activating your mind or your brain cells or your hearing, or become a better listener, or whatever it is. And all around us we have people like that who are offering us ways to raise the temperature in our career or in our desire to learn a new language. And the internet is full of it. It's just full of those things that are offering us that and telling us that it's not a matter of even hard work. It's just, if you've got the fire in you, you'll be able to do it. And that's very much the language of our time. It's just like, you just gotta click and you're going to be able to do it. And it's very true even for the spiritual path in many ways. You have to look for that click. And you can use many things. I mean, there used to be, I don't know if it's just the book that I read, but when I was a teenager, there was a book I was reading that my dad brought home of hadith. And it was organized in a way where one chapter was the chapter of heart-melting hadith. Look for a chapter like that. Look for a book that has a chapter like that. And those are the things that ignite you. Read. I was going to read some of this poem to you today in English. Read some of those lines and wake up. And it's, how can I put it? It's in your hands. It's just like you turning up the temperature on the stove. You can choose to do that. It depends on what you allow yourself to be exposed to. This book is available anytime, anywhere. It's even online. I can take a photo of the line that touches my heart and open it every day to make sure that the temperature is staying high. I can have a book of Rumi. There are thousands of books of Rumi now. We can get them. It's all about you showing that I want my temperature to rise. I want that desire, that burning desire to be there. Otherwise, what are we waiting for? What exactly are you waiting for? Are you waiting for someone to just come and do that for you? If that person even came, would you be ready? Sometimes very great people have come here, and people are not on fire. The words that they're saying could make another person drunk, but people are not reacting. So it's really in your hand. Don't wait for it to come from outside, and don't wait for the push to come because you're so broken from your life. And we talked about that before, that people who don't seek on the path, who don't look for someone to guide them to Allah, or who don't look for their life to be a means to carry them towards Allah, they often have trials and tribulations that become that means. And this is the nature of the world. If Allah loves you, that's how it will be. There is a hadith Qudsi, and I'll just finish with that, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that for the one who turns to me in tawbah, the one who wants to come back to me, I am his habib, I become his beloved. The process of turning to Allah and recognizing, especially in tawbah is recognizing that I'm not complete, and I'm not enough for me, and I'm not able to carry all the blessings that come in this life and to make it through alone. I need you. That's tawbah. Someone who's really ta'ib is in that state. Complete neediness of Allah and recognition of Allah's presence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes the beloved of that person. And Allah says, and the one who refuses to turn to me in that way, I will be his doctor. I'll cure him as his doctor, and I will visit upon him trial after trial until he gets healthy spiritually. So it's your choice. Either you can be someone who chooses tawbah, come back on your own with that neediness, cultivate it, read books, read whatever, listen to a talk that makes you realize, I do need God. Things are not just it's not a place to be complacent, this life. I need to be seeking, I need to be on fire. Either you can do that of your own volition and use your brain that God gave you to direct you in that way, or you can wait until He visits a trial upon you, and then you'll both come to the same result. Alhamdulillah, they both come back to Allah, but one comes with love and of their own will, and they bend their free will to God, and the other person has it bent for them by the difficulty of their situation, where they realize, I have no one to turn to but God. So may we be people who come of our own volition. May we be people who understand that free will is for that. Free will is to say, Ya Allah, I choose you. With my free will, I choose you. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Allah, may Allah bless everyone who's here, and forgive us for anything that's useless that we've said, and forgive us for all of our mistakes from week to week. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Allah, guide us and allow us to feel at home with you, and allow us to celebrate who you are. Allow us to come to know you better. Allow us to use every moment in our lives to taste the blessing of having a Lord and not being alone and abandoned and neglected. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Allah, help all the people in this world who feel alone and who feel neglected and who feel directionless. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, make circumstances that allow us to be able to share with them who you are and how you are and how they can be. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Allah, forgive us for keeping to ourselves so much. Forgive us for keeping the secrets of joy to ourselves. Ya Allah, make us like that blessed woman in the story who was able to give away her blessings, knowing that the true blessing is to have you and to feel enriched by you. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Allah. Bless everyone in this room. Take care of every worry that everyone has. Take care of every anxiety that anyone has. Grant every dua that is in every heart in this room and every person listening. Every dua, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, we know you answer all the dua. Grant all the dua and let us have the certainty and the comfort to know that it was answered by you. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Allah, make our nights nights of joy. Make our nights nights of spending time with you. Make our nights nights where we feel excited to wake up, to talk to you, to receive your gifts, to receive the shower of joy that comes from your presence in the night. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Allah, make us people of the night. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, make us people of Quran. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, make us lovers of Sayyidina Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Make us people who are united with Sayyidina Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who long for the end of this journey, who long to pass out of this life, who long for death because it's a chance to meet with Sayyidina Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to meet him and to be given to drink from him at the Hawd. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, make that our greatest wish. Aqsa al-Muna, Ya Arhamar Rahimin, that makes every other thing diminish in its value. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Allah, wa salatu wassalam ala Sayyidina Muhammad, Sayyidina Mursaleen, fi kulli waqtin wa hin, Ya Rabbana laka alhamd, wa ila sharaf al-Nabi al-Fatiha.
Allah, Ya Allah, Allah, Ya Rahim, Allah, Ya Allah, Allah, Ya Kareem. Of you, my Lord, I'm asking the gaze of your affection to heal all wounds and hidden disease.